Renaissance is the highly anticipated album by Beyoncé. It is technically her 7th studio album, although if you count Everything Is Love that she did with Jay-Z under the name The Carters, it will technically be her 8th album, which I do personally, but whatever. Either way, new project by Beyoncé. An artist who needs no introduction. You guys all know who she is. It would be a waste of my time to give any sort of refresher. She's one of those artists who, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily need a lead single, leading up to the album to come out, or anything going on with her personal life to get us excited for a new album by her, just because her body of work and her name is enough to have us all be excited for any new release coming out. One thing that is kind of interesting about this album, though, that I honestly didn't even know until just now when I started recording, that it's the first in a trilogy of releases that she's going to be coming out with. It's also been named as Act 1 Renaissance. Cool. I don't really know what that means or what to expect from those other 2 projects, but I mean, count me in. I'm excited for those whenever they come out. The lead single, Break My Soul, teased at this kind of going into more of a dance house direction, which, oh boy, coming off of Honestly Nevermind, I was just like, I don't know if I could take another one of these albums. Granted, it was obvious how little effort was actually put into that release, at least to me. So, Beyonce is a whole nother lane compared to Drake. Not necessarily saying she's better. They're different artists. It's not fair to necessarily compare them and have similar expectations from them. The opening track, I'm That Girl, gets into the thick of things pretty quickly, and by that I just mean going over some of the album's main themes, which relate to self-love, embracing pleasure. And I thought this was a very cool way to start off the album. There's this very trippy sample, the way it's kind of sped up and looped around. And the back end of this song also kind of dips its toes into the hip-hop realm a little bit with the beat change, and even Beyonce's singing becomes a little bit faster, almost like she's rapping. The second track, Cozy, unfortunately couldn't really pick up the pace, in my opinion, with the first one. I felt like this one was kind of just going through the motions a little bit, both lyrically and musically. Also, Beyonce has a very pronounced delivery with some of the lines in this one, particularly in the chorus, which wasn't horrible. I didn't hate it, but I guess I just didn't really understand the intent with that approach to the vocals. I'm really liking the super layered instrumental on Alien Superstar. It gives me kind of a 80s vibe, as well as what sounds like this sample of this person saying unique. And then there's also part of a monologue delivered by Barbara Ann Tier, which is taken from a speech she made in the past, which I thought was a kind of cool way to close out the track. The next track, Cuff It, I do think is quite redundant, especially when we're living in a time where About Damn Time is, as I speak, the #1 song in the United States. So, I couldn't help but sort of think back to that song. But it's still very enjoyable, great groove, just super smooth ride all around. And then Energy featuring Beam is kind of the continuation of Cuff It. Really, it's just sort of like a part 2, except a little bit more laid back this time. And just for anyone who's wondering, I'm aware of the slight controversy that's happening with this track with its sample of Milkshake by Khalees. And if you're wanting my 2 cents on this subject, I don't really have it. I don't really care, honestly. When I first heard this song, I didn't really even notice the sample. Listening to it repeat times, I could kind of tell where it is. Whatever, I don't really care. I don't know. Honestly, I just love the fact that she paid tribute to the Fugees. The whole "oh la la la" from Fuji La, that was great. I love that part. I noticed that right away. Go listen to that song, honestly. Who cares about Milkshake? Listen to Fuji La by the Fugees. Do yourself a favor. And then this leads into Break My Soul, the lead single for the album, which is just so addictive on so many levels. This synth, boom, 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 boom. And then the big Freedia sample is absolutely nuts. I mean, the way it's worked into the track is really smooth, but oh my gosh, the whole really digging this one. Really digging just how Beyonce sings it too, especially in the chorus. Break my soul, the way she yells break and then kind of backs off a little bit. Just Mwah, chef's kiss. Then we get a whole nother vibe with the song Church Girl, which makes use of a chipmunk sampling, a trap beat in this one as well. Right when I heard it, I had to look at who produced it. I saw No ID was involved, so no surprise there for me. Plastic Off the Sofa kind of brings it back to the funk aesthetic that Cuffhead had. And, you know, the lyrics are a little bit by the numbers, kind of straightforward, but I can forgive it, honestly, just because I'm really liking the sound of it overall. And then Virgo's Groove pretty much provides more of the same here, a bit at a faster tempo though. And, you know, it's an enjoyable track, but I will admit that I do think it goes on a little bit too long. It's about 6 minutes in length. I think you definitely could have cut off at least a minute there. 4 to 4.5 minutes probably would have been the perfect time for it. The song Move, I'm unfortunately not too into though. This one goes in a bit more of a Latin direction, which is cool, but I don't really care for it either way. And also, especially, I think Beyonce's delivery is a little too over the top and kind of hard for me to take seriously at times. And then Heated was kind of another one that I was sort of so-so on, but honestly what sold it for me was the very end of this song. Just the amount of energy that Beyonce brought to that closing, I thought was awesome. Track 12 is called Thick, which I'm not too crazy about personally. Just way too straightforward for my taste. And I mean, the subject matter in general, I don't really care about. And the tune itself, I think, is also a bit underwhelming. So a bit of a speed bump with that one. And I think this album honestly closes fantastically. All of these last 4 tracks I think are good. All Up in Your Mind, America Has a Problem, Pure/Honey, and Summer Renaissance, all bang. In particular, I really like the Honey portion of Pure/Honey. You know, as the song sort of insinuates it, it's just a whole nother parts. And I like just how all over the place that last song is, or last part of the song is musically. And then Summer Renaissance has a super cool interpolation of Donna Summer's I Feel Love, which I thought was very tastefully done. You know, there are all these other samples and interpolations in this album that really work well. I don't know why people have to linger on the Milkshake one so much. Let's just talk about all the other stuff that works. I think Renaissance has lots of great cuts on it, a great fusion of sounds ranging from hip-hop, disco, dance, pop, funk, R&B, I mean even more trap as well. I think the album really only falls flat whenever it's kind of a little bit too redundant at times, and also, like I said earlier, sometimes just kind of going through the motions. And that leads me to say that I'm feeling an 8 out of 10 on this thing. Very enjoyable listen, very good production, and also just great to hear Beyonce sing again, you know, on a full album, because it's been a while since we got one of those. So yeah, just very nice to hear that. So those are my thoughts on the album. Of course, what do you guys think about it? Any favorite tracks from it if you've heard it? And I guess, what are your 2 cents on this somewhat controversial sample of Milkshake in the song Energy? I think it's being overblown personally, but I also haven't read too into it that much, so maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. That about does it for me. Thank you all for watching. Peace out.